Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to go ahead and start counting down the most valuable, most expensive, phrase it how you will, full art Pokemon cards. I should mention we are sticking to the recent ones, we are sticking to Sword and Shield. I'm not going back into previous generations. Sword and Shield will do fine. We've done this for other kind of cards like Gold and Rainbow and all of that. I thought it might be nice today to count down the full art Pokemon, and these videos tend to be moderately popular, so I thought it was worth a little bit of a play. Now, a couple of interesting notes to start off with. Full art Crobat is like a $5 card. It's an amazing card, it sees a huge amount of play, it's a great draw engine, but Crobat has been reprinted about 11 billion times at this stage, and we've got so many different versions of it. We had the shiny Crobat that came in a box that you could go and buy nice and easily, and the value of full art Crobat, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending how you look at it, has just absolutely dissipated completely. Sorry. There's also no full art Charizard. And I find that kind of interesting, but there is a very simple, straightforward reason for it. And the very simple, straightforward reason is that Charizard V over in Japan was released in the Charizard VMAX deck. It wasn't in a set. And I made this point in a bunch of videos. Basically, if you have a situation where a card doesn't have a full art Rainbow Rare or whatever, for us, it's almost certainly because it was released in a special deck over in Japan. So, with all of that said, we need to talk about number 10. You see, I'm trying to do a top 10, and I've got the top 9, and I'm happy with the top 9, but number 10 could be any number of cards. There are a whole bunch of cards which are like $12 or $13 that it's really hard to pick between. So, bit of a speed round in at number 10. I mean, nominally, for me, Vaporeon came out as the most expensive, but this literally changes day by day, so I don't know how much stock we can put in that. Vaporeon, of course, isn't particularly good, but the VMAX has a little bit of potential, and you are a popular evolution. But also, potentially coming in here, we've got Suicune with that phenomenal ability to draw a card, and that attack which works really nicely with Ludicolo, and makes one of the, I think it's fair to say, one of the best decks in the game right now. Or Rayquaza. Again, Rayquaza isn't particularly good, but the VMAX is pretty good, and it's Rayquaza. Rayquaza is stupid popular. Or we could talk about Galarian Articuno, which, I mean, firstly, Galarian Articuno is quite popular. Secondly, it's got that brilliant ability to discard 2 cards from your hand in order to draw a card. I think that's going to be really good in a bunch of decks in the not-too-distant future. So you could put that one in there on the list. Or you could go for Flareon. Now, Flareon is not particularly good. Even the VMAX is a bit gimmicky. But it's very much a very cool card, and people love Flareon and all of that. So you could pick Flareon. You could pick Glaceon. Again, I think this is more people like Glaceon, and Glaceon is cool rather than the playability factor. Or you could pick Espeon. Espeon, I mean, the VMAX is pretty cool, to be fair. The Espeon itself isn't great. And essentially, all of those cards, I think I just named 8 of them, they all come in at like $12, $13. Nominally, when I did my list, on the day I did it, Vaporeon actually came in at number 10. But if I did the list again now, it would probably be a different one again. So number 10 is a bit of a gelatinous mess of all those Pokemon. But coming in at number 9, we got an actual spot for Genesect. And Genesect is a very cool card. I still believe it is going to be going down as one of the best cards of the era. It's got an amazing ability, lets you draw until you've got as many cards in your hand as you've got Fusion Strike Pokemon in play, which is pretty cool. And an attack, free energy 210. It's just really good. And like a lot of the Pokemon on this list, you could sit there and go, well, you know what, Wussy? We've got the cheaper version in terms of the regular, and we got the better version in terms of the alternate art. And I'm not going to argue with either of those, but this full art Genesect, for my money, is actually one of the coolest ones on here. And it's a very good card, and it is coming in at number 9. In at number 8, one that I don't really understand, I'm going to be honest with you here, it's Ninetales. And this list is a little bit weird. It is very, very top heavy. Almost all of them come from the last 2 or 3 sets. It's really weird. But for some reason, Ninetales, which I'm pretty sure came out in Rebel Clash, yeah, Ninetales made it on the list. Why? I mean, do people really like Ninetales that much? I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Ninetales is a playable card. It is. Free energy, choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. It is a cool card that has seen a bunch of play. It's got teched into a bunch of decks. But also, we all know at this stage that Ninetales was better when Welder was in the format. Because then you could basically Welder 2 energy on, attach a third, and go. The fact that we don't have Welder, and that it's seeing a lot less play than it used to, makes me confused it's on this list. But I went to TCG Player, I went to eBay, I went to a few other sites. Ninetales is legitimately the 8th most expensive one, and this is one of the harder ones to explain. In at number 7, we've got Jolteon, and this one is not so hard to explain, because Jolteon VMAX is one of the best decks around at the moment. It is an absolute top tier deck that is top cutting all over the place. It is a phenomenal deck, because you've got that elemental badge card, which essentially lets you do 100 to the active and 100 to a bench damage Pokemon for a single energy. Yeah, that's pretty gosh darn nuts, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty gosh darn nuts. And now you've got the full art version of it, and it's an evolution, and you can see this list is pretty heavy on the evolutions, and honestly, ladies and gentlemen, that explains it pretty nicely. I should mention quickly that both Ninetales and Jolteon are listed as $16 cards. Remember, I've said this in previous videos, when I do this, it's because I can't really pick them apart in terms of a value like that, but generally Jolteon seems to be selling a tiny bit higher. In at number 6, we've got Sylveon, and again, what I said about Jolteon is basically true here. We've got a really popular Pokemon, people love Sylveon, and I did pull this full art from one of my Japanese boxes, and then I pulled a couple of other Secret Rare Sylveon, and now I'm all in on Sylveon. And the Sylveon VMAX is probably not quite as good a deck as Jolteon, but it's still a top deck, which is doing pretty well. But generally, Sylveon tends to be more popular than Jolteon, so there we go. Plus, you've got a really nice ability, lets you search for any item card and put it in your hand. It ends your turn, sure, but there are a whole bunch of decks that can use it. This might be my favourite one on the list, honestly. In at number 5, we've got Dragonite. And Dragonite's a bit of a weird one, because Dragonite, the full art, was the only version that came in Evolving Skies. There was no regular art Dragonite in Evolving Skies. It didn't exist. Because, now we did also get the alternate art, which is cool, but there was no regular art because, of course, there was the Dragonite V box by itself. And I kind of would have expected that when the Dragonite V box actually came out, that we would see kind of a plummet of value of the full art and the alternate art Dragonite. That hasn't seemed to actually happen at the moment, which is kind of interesting. But it's still an interesting card, certainly an expanded. It's a very good card, 250 with Dragon Gale, and Dragonite is an old school Gen 1 Pokemon, so I suppose there's your explanation. But the good news is the top 4, they are very easy to explain. In at number 4, we've got Galarian Moltres, and Galarian Moltres is just flat out one of the best cards in the game right now. This is one of those ones, there is no VMAX or any of that, but you got Dire Flame Wings, lets you attach a Darkness Energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon, although it's once per turn regardless of how many Galarian Moltres you have. Then we got Free Energy, Aura Burn, 190 damage, while hitting a very good weakness, and frankly, this is just a phenomenal card that sees play in a huge amount of decks. Now, I know that we've got that absolutely stunning, amazing alternate art. One of only 2 alternate arts I've ever actually managed to pull from packs, incidentally. It's kind of beautiful. But honestly, the answer here is this is a phenomenal card. And sure, the alternate art is probably better for most people, but that's extremely expensive and much harder to get hold of. And this full art is no slouch. In at number 3, we've got Umbreon, and I tell you on a regular basis, Umbreon is the most popular of the evolutions, and that is a large reason why it's the highest one up here. Umbreon is just the most popular evolution, so you give me a full art version of it, and it's going to be the most popular. Now, Umbreon V itself is fine, but the VMAX is absolutely phenomenal. It's got that gusting ability, sees a huge amount of play, especially in single strike decks. And again, we've got that alternate art, which is absolutely lovely. But make no mistake about it, this is a very handsome full art of a very popular Pokemon that sees a whole bunch of play. And it shouldn't surprise you it's up this high. In at number 2, we've got Pikachu, and this is because it's Pikachu. It's not a playability thing. Pikachu VMAX has unfortunately long been proven to be not good enough, honestly. Sorry if that sounds mean, but Pikachu VMAX at this stage, we all know, is not a good enough card. So we end up with this being second on the list, almost entirely because it's Pikachu, it's a full art Pikachu, it's a beautiful full art Pikachu, and people absolutely love it. Interesting to point out that over in the 100 start decks in Japan recently, we did get a new full art Pikachu. Obviously, this one isn't going on the list. It's just come out in Japan. We don't really know where it fits. We'll have to wait for it to come out. Probably in Brilliant Stars. We know that Pikachu is coming in a box, but we could very well be seeing a similar thing to Dragonite, where Dragonite comes in a box, but the full art is in the set. We could be seeing the Pikachu in the box, but the full art in the set. That would be my prediction. And that means that in at number 1, we've got Mew. And nobody should really be surprised about this. Maybe in the coming months, Mew will be dethroned and won't be up at number 1. But right now, I mean, it's setting up so perfectly for Mew. I mean, firstly, we got one of the most popular Gen 1 Pokemon. It's Mew, it's brilliant, etc., etc. But also, Mew VMAX with Genesect is the best deck around right now. It is, if you look at the online tournaments, the general rule tends to be you're either playing the deck, or when you're building your deck, you are thinking about how you're going to beat it, you're trying to build in an answer. Because general rule is if you don't build in an answer, you lose. It's the number 1 deck. And it's one of the reasons why Genesect was so high on this list, although Genesect is just generally broken. But now, you've got Mew, which is just a more popular Pokemon. Also, one of the cleaner, nicer full arts on this list, which I very much appreciate. But it's Mew, and it's the center of one of the best decks in the game. And sure, there's an alternate art, but this is more affordable for a lot of people. Some people prefer the artwork, and frankly, there's a very good reason it's in at number 1. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the most expensive full art Pokemon cards around at the moment. Pokemon, not supporters. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these are your favourite. Tell me which of these you managed to pull from packs. Tell me if there are any of these that you're going to be heading after. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at Lawasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.